My brother framed me for rape 8 years ago, but the truth has finally come out. I apologized to my brother's ex-wife on his behalf about how his feelings for my wife had interfered with their relationship. I decided to confront my brother in front of my family, asking him why he was destroying his life over his obsession with my wife. He was blindsided by the question and denied everything. We had a massive argument that ended with me forgiving my brother, but telling him he was no longer welcome in my house. Both my parents and Jenny convinced me that he was still family, so I decided to be amicable. It then seemed like he was genuinely working on himself, and we went on with our lives. Fast forward to 2015, I can still recall the day vividly. It was July 25th, and I was running multiple errands. My wife took our kids to see their grandparents. After lunch, my father called me sounding very angry and told me to come to their home. As soon as I entered, I noticed a lot of tension. My wife was crying and my parents were trying to console her. Some of my extended family were there as well. When I asked what had happened, my parents called me a rapist. I was shocked and confused as they claimed that at a party a few weeks back, I raped a girl and then texted her to keep quiet about it. I had known this girl, Amanda, since high school. According to her, after the party, I followed her to her car and assaulted her. She showed screenshots of the alleged conversation to my wife and told her this entire story. My father slapped me, and my parents told me they never wanted to see me again. Jenny was angry and said we were done. I tried to convince them of my innocence, but they didn't listen. I was kicked out of their house and told that neither Jenny nor the kids would be returning. My father came to collect their belongings from my apartment. When he came, I begged and pleaded, but he packed a couple of bags and told me never to contact them again. That evening, Henry shared the screenshots and all the details with our extended family on WhatsApp, and I was unanimously kicked out. Over the next few days, even my friends called to say they were disgusted and never to contact them again. I was a mess during that time. I couldn't eat, sleep, or work properly. My boss heard the rumors but couldn't do much until he saw some police action against me. He advised me to leave the organization on my own to keep my record intact and assured me I wouldn't have to serve my notice period. I argued, but he said that if the cops came knocking, I would be kicked out anyway and my record would be tarnished. I reluctantly agreed and left the organization. In mid-August, while I was still wallowing in misery, I received 2 documents from the court. One was a letter of disannulment and the other was divorce papers. Though intoxicated, I went to my parents' place only for my brother to beat me and call me a disgrace. Bloodied and barely able to stand, my parents and my wife watched from afar and did nothing. I realized I had lost everything and everyone I knew. I stayed holed up in my apartment during the divorce, which went as amicably as it could, given I was jobless and my ex-parents agreed to pay for the child support. By January 2016, I was divorced and trying to rebuild my life. Confronting Amanda seemed like a bad idea due to the women-centric laws in my country, which could land me in jail. In February 2016, I had a major accident and spent 5 weeks in recovery. The hospital contacted my emergency number, which was still Jenny, but she hung up, and no one showed. After recovering, I realized I needed to get back on my feet, so I sold my furniture, paid my remaining dues, and moved to a city 2 hours away. Finding a job was tough, and I drank heavily, often contemplating suicide. 4 months later, I ran into an old acquaintance, James, from college. We talked, and he offered me a job at his new management consulting firm. I agreed, wanting to get my mind off dark thoughts, but asked to meet his team first. He introduced me to Derek, and I shared my story with them. They felt sorry for me but assured me that if my record was clean, there would be no issue. 2 weeks later, James confirmed my record was clean, and I joined their team. I threw myself into work, started therapy, joined a gym, and vented my frustration on a punching bag. Derek and I became close, and by the end of 2018, I had regained control over my life. The consulting firm was successful, and I moved into a nice apartment. I legally changed my last name to Derek's as a way to thank his family, who had welcomed me. Dating was tough due to my emotional issues until I met Kim in 2019. She was half Korean and half Italian, working at a coffee place I frequented. With Derek's encouragement, I asked her out and we hit it off. She accepted my past and wanted to keep seeing me. We dated, went on a vacation to Europe, and I started healing. By 2020, we stayed in touch through calls and FaceTime, and when things settled, she asked to move in with me, and I agreed. She was let go from her coffee shop and started job hunting. Kim was an amazing cook, so I suggested she try setting up a place and getting into the food business. By mid-2021, with financial backing from her parents, she had a cloud kitchen that delivered food to nearby areas. Our lives were going great, but I still had emotional issues. Though I no longer had suicidal thoughts, the nightmares continued occasionally. In February 2023, Kim announced she was pregnant. I felt a range of emotions, from joy to crying over what I had lost. Kim comforted me and we fell asleep in each other's arms. A couple of days later, I proposed to her, and she was overjoyed. It felt like I could finally have some peace in my life. We were set to be married in mid-June this year. During the preparations, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Amanda, the girl my brother used to frame me. I cut the call, trying to hold back my anger. Kim saw my face and came over, concerned. I told her who it was, and when the call came again, Kim picked up and put it on speaker. Amanda's fiancé explained she wanted to come clean. Amanda apologized repeatedly, crying. Kim did most of the talking as I became a sobbing mess. Kim told them to call back later and immediately called Derek. Derek advised us to set up a meeting at a lawyer's office to get Amanda's confession on record. I called my lawyer and explained everything. He set up a meeting, and I informed Amanda. 3 days later, we met at the lawyer's office. Amanda looked half dead and her fiancé was with her. My lawyer recorded the meeting. Amanda explained that she and my brother were dating in 2015 and he was behind the entire rape plan. He got a new phone, stole my profile picture, and created fake screenshots by chatting with Amanda. I went from crying to being filled with rage. Kim, also furious, verbally lashed out at Amanda. My lawyer tried to keep things civil. Amanda's fiancé, Mark, explained that they were intoxicated a few weeks ago when she confessed to helping her ex destroy a marriage. After pushing her, she finally came clean. He encouraged her to own up to her mistakes for peace of mind. After helping Henry, he became cold and distant and broke up with her 6 months later. She spent a lot of time in therapy but was too scared to come clean. My lawyer suggested a break. Afterward, he advised that I could pursue defamation against Amanda and my brother. I didn't want to spoil the wedding, so I told Amanda I would contact her later and not to tell anyone. Kim hugged me, feeling relieved that the truth had come out. We had a small wedding and both James and Derek were my best men. We had a 3-week honeymoon in Europe, which was amazing, though the nightmares returned more frequently. Kim supported me, and I discussed the situation with my therapist, who said I would need to confront my ex-family for closure. In July, I reached out to Amanda and told her I would take legal action, but offered a way to avoid financial ruin. She needed to explain everything to Jenny. Amanda was crying, saying Mark had left her. I told her I didn't feel sorry for her and that karma was coming for my brother. A few days later, I received a text from Jenny. Despite being blocked, I had been sending her birthday wishes and greetings for our daughter's birthdays. This was the first message in 8 years. She asked if we could talk. I didn't want to be alone, so I told her I would call her in a few hours. Kim was with me when I called. Jenny sobbed uncontrollably, apologizing and feeling terrible. I maintained my composure and told her how hurtful it was that she believed my brother's lies. She said our daughters, Alice and Sarah, were doing well and explained that she met Amanda 2 days ago. Realizing her mistake, she brought it to my ex-parents' attention. They were stunned and wanted to contact me, but she wanted to apologize first. I told her what she did was beyond hurtful. She said Henry had been kicked out of the house and that she married him a year after our divorce because he supported her. It all made sense now. She had a daughter with Henry. I told her my terms. She needed to inform our extended family of the truth. I only wanted to co-parent our daughters, and I wanted to meet my ex-parents in person. Kim, pregnant and emotional, cried with me, and we fell asleep together. The next morning, I woke up to many missed calls and messages, including being added back to the family group, where everyone apologized. I replied, stating that I wished to remain an outsider and left the group. Some family members criticized my reaction, but I shut them down. A couple of weeks later, I called Jenny and asked her to bring our girls over for a proper meeting. Kim insisted on coming despite being pregnant. We met at a park. Jenny looked disheveled but tried to look good. I saw Alice and Sarah for the first time in 8 years. They had grown so much. Jenny tried to hug me, but I declined and introduced Kim as my wife. Jenny broke down and Kim comforted her. We sat down and I cried with my girls. They had only known Henry as their father, but seeing me brought out emotions. We talked about our lives. Jenny said she was filing for divorce from Henry. I told her she was free to do as she pleased, but it had nothing to do with me. I wanted Alice and Sarah to attend family therapy sessions with me and spend weekends with us once our baby was born. Jenny said my parents wanted to reach out. I corrected her, saying they weren't my parents anymore. Kim and Jenny suggested meeting them for closure, so I agreed. I booked a hotel for Jenny and asked her to stay the night. We spent Sunday together, enjoying the city. Before leaving, my girls hugged me warmly and I told them I would see them next week. I would come over for family therapy sessions. The therapist suggested sharing my story for outside perspective, so here I am. What should I do from here? I plan to confront my ex-parents and still have feelings for them. How should I handle Henry? I never want to see him again, but should I pursue a defamation suit despite knowing it could impact his daughter? Any feedback is appreciated.